10 of the most skilled warriors in World of Warcraft. Now keep in mind, in this video, the word warrior is used in a broader sense. For example, I will be mentioning characters who are exceptionally skilled with a melee weapon, but they may have other abilities that may not classify them as a warrior in game. Like I may mention someone who is a paladin, death knight, or demon hunter in game. But so long as they have skills with a melee weapon as well as possessing whatever abilities that they may have, they can be on the list. Also, another thing to note is that just because a character is ranked higher on the video doesn't necessarily mean that they are going to be stronger than characters that were mentioned before them, and it certainly doesn't mean that they will 100% decimate them in a 1v1. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get started on the list with number 10. UTHER. UTHER was the first paladin of the Knights of the Silver Hand and the teacher and friend to ARTHAS MENETHIL. Through his deeds in the Second War, he was given the title of LIGHTBRINGER by TIRION after aiding the Alliance in victory over the Horde numerous times. His skills both with the light and with his hammer were incredible, with most people viewing him as the most legendary paladin to have ever existed alongside TIRION FORDRING, and they aimed to live their lives as UTHER had lived his. In the Third War, however, ARTHAS betrayed his people and joined the ranks of the Scourge, leading an army of undeath throughout his own lands that he once protected. UTHER was one of those brave enough to stand in Arthas' way. Refusing to give up Terenas' ashes to his own son, UTHER raised his weapon, and the traitor prince and the Lightbringer fought in a tense and fast-paced duel. In their fight, UTHER's connection with the light was so strong that he radiated an intense bright aura that would have blinded those who stared at him long enough. So strong was he with the light and so skillful was he with his hammer that he managed to throw Arthas off balance, knocking him off of his feet and nearly killing him. So close was he to killing Arthas right then and there that Arthas began to lose hope. He stated that he should have never abandoned the light, for its perfect champion now stood in front of him to exact retribution. But at the last moment, Arthas dodged a killing blow, regained his composure, countered the paladin at every turn, landing numerous blows on UTHER with Frostmourne, until the legendary paladin fell to his knees and Frostmourne descended upon his throat, killing UTHER the Lightbringer. Number 9. CAIRNE BLOODHOOF. CAIRNE BLOODHOOF was one of the first friendly faces Thrall had met upon arriving in Kalimdor. CAIRNE BLOODHOOF never shied away from combat, but he also never had a love for it. And it wasn't due to him not being skillful with a blade, but rather he hated seeing his own soldiers struck down brutally in the midst of battle. Even though he was old and his age stripped away most of his speed, CAIRNE was still one of the most powerful and skilled warriors that the Horde had to offer. But going back to shying away from combat, he didn't embrace it, but he would never run away from it either. Before the Cataclysm, CAIRNE challenged Garrosh to a mock-gora, believing that the orc had ambushed a peaceful meeting between Tauren and Night Elf druids. During the duel, CAIRNE moved gracefully, revealing nothing but utter confidence that he would win the mock-gora. Garrosh, on the other hand, was sloppy, tired, and injured. CAIRNE had dodged and parried every one of his attacks. The Tauren had again and again pierced the flesh of Garrosh with his weapon, until Garrosh was nearly bloodied head to toe. However, as the battle dragged on, Garrosh managed to land one blow on CAIRNE, a blow that was not nearly as strong as the previous blows CAIRNE had inflicted onto Garrosh, but the difference was that Garrosh's weapon was unknowingly coated in poison, disorienting CAIRNE and making him unable to evade any of Garrosh's attacks, leading to the young orc killing the Elder Tauren that very day. Number 8. Maiev Shadowsong. Maiev Shadowsong's skill with a glaive, paired with her deadly awareness and countless years of experience in war, makes her one of the most dangerous characters in World of Warcraft. She has gone toe-to-toe with Illidan's most powerful demon hunters and bested them in single combat, as well as being able to stand her ground against Malfurion STORMRAGE and Jared Shadowsong together. Maiev has also been able to stand her ground against Gul'dan, nearly decapitating him with her glaive. But not just any Gul'dan, a powerful, bolstered, fel-enhanced Gul'dan who had enough power to wage war on Azeroth alone. Now, to be honest, she probably would have died in that confrontation if Khadgar wasn't there to protect her with his spells, but the same could have gone for Khadgar as well. He would have probably died that day were it not for Maiev Shadowsong keeping Gul'dan on edge, making sure that Maiev was nowhere near him to slit his throat open. Number 7. Garrosh. Garrosh was heralded as one of the greatest champions of Northrend during the war against the Lich King. His tactical brilliance paired with his incredible skills with Gorehowl inspired fear within the Alliance ranks as well as the Hordes. Time and time again, Garrosh has been able to best thrall physically in a Mak'gora, and his sighting alone on the battlefield would cause Alliance soldiers to retreat or focus their full attention just to take him out no matter the cost. On top of this, Garrosh was able to stand his ground against possibly the most skilled warrior that possessed no magical abilities to have ever been born, Varian WRYNN. Although he did possess some aspects of the demigod Goldrin, which made him not only somewhat hot-headed in nature, but also extremely swift, agile, and ferocious in combat, Garrosh nonetheless never shied away from the opportunity of fighting Varian, even if it meant losing his life in the process. Now, the reason why I rank Garrosh higher in the list than CAIRNE, even though CAIRNE obviously dominated him in the Mak'gora, is because during that time, Garrosh had just received Gorehowl, switching from 2 one-handed axes to using a 2-handed axe, which he didn't really have any time to perfect his fighting form with. However, as time goes on, Garrosh becomes very skilled with Gorehowl, becoming familiar with the weapon and being able to stand his ground with other incredibly skilled warriors in the process. Now, does that mean that he can defeat CAIRNE if you paired him in MOP with CAIRNE pre-Kata? I'm not really sure, but one thing I do know for certain is that he has definitely gotten much stronger since that point. Number 6. TIRION FORDRING. TIRION FORDRING was one of the first 5 knights of the Silver Hand and also a legendary paladin like UTHER the Lightbringer, who also held such a powerful connection to the light that he managed to purify the corrupted Ashbringer after it refused to aid Darien in slaughtering the paladins defending Light's Hope Chapel. With Ashbringer in hand, TIRION also managed to throw Arthas off balance, forcing him to retreat and flee back to Northrend. Under Tyrion's leadership, the Northrend counteroffensive was able to infiltrate Icecrown Citadel, where we were ultimately killed by the Lich King. But as all hope seemed to fade, Tirion broke free from his icy bonds and shattered the evil yet legendary blade known as Frostmourne, releasing the souls from within, allowing the Scourge threat to be quelled for the foreseeable future. This was a paladin that held a connection with the light which was so strong that not only was he able to purify the Ashbringer once it was within his grasp, but who also maintained his connection with the light even though it was apparently stripped away from him by UTHER the Lightbringer. Number 5. BROXIGAR. BROXIGAR needs no introduction. Brox was viewed as a champion not only amongst his Orcish people, but also in the eyes of the Night Elves within the Kaldrai resistance during the time of the War of the Ancients. He was even viewed as a champion in the eyes of the most races among them, which meant a lot, considering that at that time, they were pretty damn xenophobic and viewed all races who were not Night Elves as inferior. In this war, BROXIGAR realized that the only way his future would be saved was if his allies would have time to combat the Legion, and so he selflessly sacrificed himself by jumping through a portal which led him into the realm of the Burning Legion. So skilled was he with the axe of Cenarius that he managed to cut down legions of demons single-handedly, denying them access through the portal behind them and eventually building up a mountain of corpses from the multitude of demons that he had slain. So courageous was he that even when the fallen titan Sargeras showed up to end the orc's life, BROXIGAR inflicted a wound on Sargeras' leg, making him the only known mortal to have ever been able to actually wound Sargeras. Although Sargeras struck him down, BROXIGAR died in such a glorious death that he had sealed his place in history, resulting in even the Night Elves, xenophobic as many of them may be, to raise up a statue in his memory. Number 4. Alexandros MOGRAINE. Alexandros MOGRAINE, the father to both Renault and Darien, and the man who was in a way responsible for the creation of the Ashbringer, was a legendary warrior who decimated the undead scourge with his mastery over the Ashbringer. Kel'Thuzad and Balnazar, both seeing Alexandros' power and both relishing the idea of converting him into an undead agent, manipulated Renault, Alexandros' son, to lure his father as well as his trusted friend High Inquisitor Fairbanks into a trap. In this trap, gap, an army of undead ambushed them, swarming over the two men. Fairbanks quickly was overpowered while MOGRAINE stood alone against literally an entire legion of undead scourge, all the while cleaving multitudes of them down with both the light and the Ashbringer. Every undead that was sent to ambush him fell by his hands, and as Alexandros dropped his blade in fatigue and exhaustion, Renault came up from behind him and impaled Alexandros with his own blade, corrupting the legendary Ashbringer. Thrilled by this, Kel'Thuzad retrieved Alexandros' corpse, resurrecting him as his champion and as one of the 4 original horsemen within Naxxramas. Number 3. Varian WRYNN. Varian WRYNN, otherwise known as Logosh, was one of the most ferocious and skilled warriors that has ever existed in Warcraft history. So terrifying was he in combat that the orcs named him Logosh, translated as Ghost Wolf. Even the Burning Legion viewed him as a noticeable threat, referring to him not as Varian, but as the Wolf, and seeing his death as a major victory. He was also known to be more agile, more quick, and more powerful than the Worgen themselves, despite the Worgen actually having wolf-like physical attributes. This is because Varian has a connection to Goldrinn. In the novel Wolfheart, Varian performs a ritual to control his inner wolf, the part that is connected to the demigod Goldrinn, but the part that is also responsible for his incredible unmatched skill in combat, but also responsible for his unstable and aggressive behavior. However, upon finding balance between both Logosh and himself, Varian became more deadly than he ever was. During the Cataclysm, the Horde, led by Garrosh, invaded Ashenvale and nearly took control of the entire land underneath Garrosh's leadership. He managed to outthink both Chandra's Feathermoon and Tyrande Whisperwind, destroying outposts and nearly killing Tyrande. However, when Varian joined the battle, leading the Worgen as both Logosh and himself, Genn Greymane and his soldiers saw Varian possessing the aura of Goldrinn himself. With the strength and swiftness of a wolf, Varian turned the tide of the battle, slaying dozens of Horde soldiers, enormous Magnetar, and Garrosh's lieutenants. The battlefield roared with chanting. The name Goldrinn was shouted loud enough for all to hear, giving birth to new hope to the Alliance, and fear to the Horde. Fear to all but one orc. Garrosh watched Varian cut through his men with not fear, but awe. The war chief, though seeing that Varian was one with himself more so than ever, regardless engaged Varian in combat, and he almost lost his life for it. In the battle, Varian parried each of Garrosh's attacks, even coming close to slitting Garrosh's throat by slicing a thin line through Garrosh's chest with Charlemagne that ended just shy of his throat. Seeing the danger that their warchief was in, 2 Kor'kron dove into the fray, eager to kill Varian, but they ultimately fell with relative ease. Varian then re-engaged Garrosh, Varian fresh and full of energy, while Garrosh began to give ground. Logosh dug his sword deep within Garrosh's arm, causing Garrosh to shake with pain to where he could not hold on to Gorehowl. But as Varian was about to deal the killing blow, a Magnetar, which was swarming with Worgen, attacking it, came crashing down between Garrosh and Varian, allowing Garrosh to reluctantly retreat. Number 2. Arthas Menethil, the Lich King. Arthas Menethil was an exceptional fighter as a paladin, but his power grew even more when he was crowned the Lich King. Mentored by the legendary paladin UTHER the Lightbringer and the veteran dwarf Muradin Bronzebeard, Arthas became a skilled warrior, melding fighting styles between that of a holy paladin of the light and that of a brutal and powerful warrior. When Arthas forsook the light, however, and picked up Frostmourne, he managed to kill many powerful opponents such as Mal'Ganis, UTHER, Sylvanas, Gavinrad, who was also another one of the first paladins of the Silver Hand, Anastarian Sunstrider, the father to Kael'thas, whose mastery over Felamalorn and skill with the staff allowed him to hold his ground against Arthas for a while during the undead assault on Quel'Thalas, Dranosh Sourfang, who was killed in one single blow, Kael'thas Sunstrider, who only managed to evade death at the hands of Arthas by distracting him so that he could cast a teleportation spell, and even Illidan Stormrage, who was bested in a duel against Arthas in Northrend prior to Arthas becoming the Lich King. He was also the only enemy that we faced that actually managed to kill us. I mean, Arthas really needs no introduction. As a young man, he was taught the ways of both the paladin and the warrior, and when he became the Lich King, not only were his melee and necromantic skills enhanced, but he still recalled the teachings that UTHER and Muradin had taught him when he was young, that it made him truly a dangerous foe. One of the many reasons why it took so many people from both the Horde and the Alliance to dethrone him in Northrend. Number 1. Illidan Stormrage. Illidan Stormrage, the twin brother to Malfurion, was once a gifted sorcerer, his arcane powers rivaling that of even Queen Azshara until his destiny led him down the path of becoming a demon hunter. Throughout his life, Illidan had stood his ground and defeated many foes such as Magtheridon, High Lord Cruel, Tichondrius, holding his own against Arthas as a Death Knight in Felwood, but ultimately being bested by him in Northrend, slaying countless demons, perhaps more so than any other person on Azeroth, and even leading invasions on demon-conquered worlds or demon homeworlds such as the home of the Nath regime. Illidan exists only with one goal in his mindset: the utter destruction of the Burning Legion. Through this mindset, Illidan has trained demon hunters who share this thought process and who hunger for revenge against the Legion. And with them rallied under his leadership, Illidan has dealt countless blows to the Burning Legion, even slaughtering hordes of Nath regime on their homeworld and ultimately destroying the planet. Illidan also planned on invading Argus and killing Kil'jaeden, but this plan never came to fruition since we, the players, basically killed him before he had the chance to do this. Now you may be wondering why Illidan is ranked higher on this video than Arthas, the dude who nearly killed him. Well, because Illidan is destined for greatness. A greatness that we do not know exactly what it is yet, but a greatness that could possibly lead to the destruction of the Burning Legion entirely, and also the war against the Void. In the Illidan novel, an Elder Naru shows Illidan a vision where he is one of the leaders of the Army of the Light, radiating an aura of light as he leads his forces against the Void Lords. In this moment, Illidan stated that he did not understand the vision, but he felt a sense of rightness about it. Both Illidan and Arthas have no doubt become much more powerful since they fought each other in Northrend in Warcraft 3, but one thing sets them apart: Illidan is still alive, and his destiny is not yet fulfilled, meaning that he can still grow much more powerful, especially if he is going to embrace the light and lead us against the Void Lords.